severe weather warnings are in place for much of eastern and central England. Icy conditions are set to continue and to spread to other regions over the next couple of days. Kerry Packer, the man who revolutionised the world of cricket, has died. And across the country, an extremely busy start to the post-Christmas sales. Good afternoon. The Met Office says that icy conditions are set to continue across eastern and central England over the next couple of days. There's a severe weather warning in force and the snow is expected to spread, causing more disruption to drivers and to rail passengers. Police are advising people not to use their cars unless the journey is essential. The freezing winds have swept in overnight from northern Europe, badly affecting East Anglia and other parts of eastern England. Kent is among the worst hit counties, and we can join Duncan Kennedy at Lenham.
Yes, Hugh, good evening. It may look picturesque, but just look at it. The snow has come back with a vengeance in the last hour or so. Well, I can tell you the temperatures are plummeting. It's absolutely freezing here, and that means all sorts of problems for drivers on the road tonight. As you said, we are in mid-Kent, which has seen some of the worst of the weather today. And although it might have been fun for some people, for others, it's been a day of disruption. Mid-Kent, midwinter, and the greenery now hidden beneath the white blanket of snowfall. This was the scene repeated across much of the county, especially near the coast. Motorways like the M20 were the arteries that kept things moving, thanks to the early treatment by the gritters. But it took much longer to free up the smaller B roads. Up to 65 gritting lorries were sent out here, but with hundreds of miles of roads to clear.
The problem is that it could get very cold this evening. We are expecting very low temperatures tonight, and all the slush and snow will freeze and make it very icy, and people must take extreme caution tonight when they're out.
Local farmers were called on to use their tractors to open up some routes, snowplows taking the place of farm equipment. But not even that was enough to keep everyone moving.
I've never known it's as slippery as this. No, it's hopeless.
Further north in Lincolnshire, the winter pounding has caught out many people. An elderly couple in this car were not seriously injured. Others have also failed to negotiate the ice before the gritters arrived. In Cambridgeshire, it was too hard and too cold for racing at Huntingdon, and the forecasters say it's not over yet.
But this evening we're seeing a more widespread area of snow actually across much of eastern England, parts of the Midlands, depositing a good carpet of snow through this evening, and now temperatures are plummeting. That snow is freezing, so untreated surfaces really lethal through tonight.
Across in Norfolk, they've also seen some of the worst, and again it's motorists who've experienced the dangerous conditions. But for transport lovers of a different kind, things couldn't be better. Some have decided to make it a family day out. Free entertainment, courtesy of the skies above.
Well, Duncan, we heard a few words of advice in your report there. What is the latest you have on how things are likely to develop now?
Well, it's got an east-west split at the moment, Hugh, which is likely to be blurred over the next couple of days. Where we are here in East Kent, Mid-Kent, the blizzards are starting again, and the weather warnings are out from both the police and the Highways Authority. It's the same in places like Norfolk and again up in Lincolnshire. But what the weather people are telling us is that this whole band is going to be moving west into the Midlands and elsewhere in the country, and they put out several severe weather warnings tonight for people to be aware of this. These blizzards are moving west. I'm struggling to speak to you tonight. It's getting so cold here tonight. The warnings coming from these people saying the weather is going to be spreading west, and that means people should take care. We've been speaking to the police this afternoon, and they're telling people really they shouldn't make any journeys that are unless they're absolutely necessary. And the advice they're giving to people really is to check before setting out, either by phoning ahead, whether it's train or rail, or talking to the local people who've been out in these conditions to get a sense of what's facing them. Because believe me, Hugh, tonight in this area and in other areas of the country, it is absolutely freezing and the conditions are getting worse.
OK, Duncan in London, thank you very much. Britain is one of just 2 European countries on course to meet the Kyoto targets on cutting greenhouse gases. A new study by the Institute of Public Policy Research shows that 10 out of 15 EU countries, including Italy and Spain, will not meet their targets, even if additional measures are put in place. But the report also states that carbon dioxide emissions are still rising in the UK. Kerry Packer, the man who modernised the world of cricket, has died at the age of 68. He split the game in the 1970s with his World Series matches, and his innovations, including coloured clothing and day-night matches, have become familiar features of the modern game. Kevin Geary reports.
It's a measure of the groundbreaking impact that Kerry Packer had on international cricket that the players of Australia and South Africa stood in silent tribute during the Melbourne Test today to a man who was essentially a media tycoon, businessman and inveterate gambler.
I'm sure he himself would find some symbolism about his death occurring in the middle of a Boxing Day Test.
That's because in 1977, Kerry Packer changed the face of cricket forever, forming his World Series circus in direct opposition to official test matches. Many of the world's best players signed up to it, persuaded by his promise to take on the cricket establishment for their ultimate benefit.
They can say what they like about me. If they start to victimise the players who've placed their trust in me, at that point in time, it's an all-out scrap.
At the meeting I had with him, the thing that struck me most was that he was concerned only with the players. He knew that the players were being, in a sense, financially downtrodden, and it was his job to put it right, and put it right he did.
A bitter battle won, cricket rapidly embraced his many innovations: coloured clothing, one-day international series and floodlit games. Even recent developments like 2020 cricket have their roots in the Packer revolution.
It's a very sad day for all of us. I think that probably the big thing is that cricket has lost one of its greatest friends and supporters. Probably even bigger than that, Australia as a nation has lost a truly great Australian.
Packer's power and wealth came from his media empire built around the Channel 9 television station and a stable of profitable publications. He was Australia's richest man and spent like it. Rumours abounded of millions lost in a day's gambling, but at the same time, he was also wise enough to own Australia's largest casino. The Packer dynasty will go on, though his son James has some remarkable shoes to fill. Kevin Geary, BBC News.
Back home now, and detectives are questioning a 44-year-old man after a woman was found shot dead at a house in North Staffordshire. Police officers discovered her body when they were called to a house in Audley in the early hours of the morning. Staffordshire police say the middle-aged woman had gunshot wounds to her body. Shopping centres across Britain are reporting a very lively start to the post-Christmas sales, with people queuing up before dawn to snap up some of the best deals. Some shops opened their doors yesterday on Boxing Day, but in the main centres, almost every outlet is open today, as Rebecca Pike now reports.
The crowds were out, but it was a civilised start to the busiest shopping day of the year. Here at Brent Cross and around the country, retailers are hoping they can build on yesterday's success. Nearly 20% more shoppers went to the Boxing Day sales than the same time last year. That's partly because last year Boxing Day fell on a Sunday, but also because shops are offering some pretty good bargains.
It's been extremely busy. What we found this year is that more retailers have slashed their prices by more. So 50% off is perfectly commonplace. And in fact, I've seen stuff at 80% off, genuine reductions at 80% off.
In northeast England, at the Gateshead Metro Centre, shops were also doing a brisk trade. Here, as in many places, Next opened its doors at 5 in the morning. Many people started queuing in the middle of the night.
£150 I've spent. Some Christmas presents from next year.
It's become part of a Christmas ritual. Me and my friend do it every year. We meet early in the morning, then get some bargains and go for breakfast afterwards.
I've been to the Next sale. I'm going to the House of Fraser, I'm going to Marks and Spencer's. I'm just going all over, and at the end of the day, I don't care what I spend, I'll pay for it next year.
A few months ago, retailers were having a pretty tough time, but November's cold snap brought people back to the shops, and Christmas was a lot better than expected. That was reflected in pre-Christmas sales figures from John Lewis, which were up by 11%. It was a surprisingly good end to what's been a difficult year.
It was a challenging 2005, of that there was no doubt. We had a stronger Christmas than we anticipated, and that's really pleasing. Looking forward to 2006, maybe a period of subdued growth.
So despite the queues into this North London shopping centre this evening, there's no need to crack open the champagne just yet. A few good days won't revitalise retailing, though there is cautious optimism that 2006 will be a bit better than 2005. Rebecca Pike, BBC News.
In New Orleans, people have spent Christmas reflecting on the traumatic events of 2005 when Hurricane Katrina flooded their city. Our correspondent Alistair Leithhead has been back to the area with Hardy Jackson, who's still searching for his wife Tonette. Her body was washed away on the day the hurricane struck, despite his efforts to save her.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. It was a moment that captured America and brought the horror of Hurricane Katrina into everyone's living room.
She gone. You can't find your wife?
Oh,
she told me, but she told me. I tried. I hold her hand tight as I could, and she told me, you can't hold me. She said, take care of the kids and the grandkids. And what's your name? Hardy Jackson. Where are you guys going? We ain't got nowhere to go, nowhere I'm going. I'm lost.
I never in my whole life, don't forget that day. Never.
Hardy Jackson vividly remembers the day the hurricane hit America's Gulf Coast. This is all that's left of his wooden house. The couple were inside as a massive tidal surge ripped it apart. He desperately clung on to his wife as the full force of the storm struck.
So we hugged, and we kissed. The wave in the water was so high and so strong that next big wave came, it just pulled us apart. And then I saw my wife body laying flat on her back, going this way. Nothing I can do.
3 months has passed now, and he's still not found her body.
It's hard, man. It's hard. I try to be strong for them kids. You know, I ain't took time to grieve myself, you know. I'm holding in sad.
Hardy Jackson and the family now live in Georgia, but they often travel back to Biloxi in the hope of finding her body. Hardy's story was broadcast around the world. Many people have helped them since then. A new house, a car, clothes, money, more than the family ever had before.
Sometimes I sit down and say, my wife gone. You know, why could this happen while she was living? You know, why did it take this? Why did my wife have to leave for all this to happen?
Lives are slowly being rebuilt, and in nearby New Orleans, they're getting themselves moving again. Shops, restaurants, businesses are opening up. Plans for February's Mardi Gras are in place. People are starting to come back. But across most of the city, it's a very different picture. This is the lower 9th Ward, one of the worst affected parts of New Orleans. When the levee walls burst and the flood water came rushing in, this whole neighborhood was underwater for weeks. And now, more than 3 months after the storm, the cleanup operation is barely scratching the surface, and it seems unlikely that anyone will ever live here again. The trail of devastation is as obvious today as it was straight after the storm. This whole area has been deeply traumatized by the hurricane that shook the country and the president. It's a daunting task, and it's now up to the people to rebuild. But for Hardy Jackson and the hundreds of families who've lost loved ones, it'll take many years. He says he will never be at peace until he finds his wife's body and lays her to rest. Alistair Leithhead, BBC News, on the Gulf Coast of the United States.
And you can see the latest on today's news over on BBC News 24, including a full roundup of the disruption caused by the snow across eastern England and the latest travel information throughout the evening for you. That's it. I'll be back with more from the newsroom here on BBC One at 20 to 11 this evening. Now it's time to join our news teams across the UK. Bye for now.
Good afternoon and welcome to Look North. A man has been killed following a shooting at a bar in Dewsbury. Officers were called to Sheridan's Bar, which is off Huddersfield Road in the town, just after 5 o'clock this morning. They found a 23-year-old man who was dead and another man who was treated at the scene for minor wounds. The bar and parts of the road will be closed for the rest of today. Retailers had a brisk start to their winter sales, with many reporting their busiest trade of the year. In Leeds city centre, thousands of people got up at the crack of dawn to snap up cut-price goods at the big department stores. At one point, 800 people were queuing outside Harvey Nichols. Heidi Tomlinson has this.
Some would say it's the perfect way to work off Christmas food, hunting down a bargain on the first day of the sales. These shoppers were so eager to get the best designer deals that they were happy to queue just to get in.
It's nice, like, to get a bargain.
I've spent the past few months shopping for other people, so I'm going to shop for myself now.
I just thought I'd come and have a look for a coat that I wanted to get.
I just come for moral support. I think I'd rather be walking on the moor somewhere.
Retailers are offering big discounts and reporting excellent trading figures. It was chaos trying to buy shoes or handbags in Harvey Nichols this morning, with 30 to 50% off top brands.
Today we take roughly a week's trade in one day. It's going to be quite crazy. There's plenty of nice things around, so if you're really looking for a bargain, come and get to us, but be quick.
We're up about 6 o'clock this morning, so yeah, it's well worth it. Off back to bed, cup of tea and back to bed. So.
It's thought prices are being slashed so low to entice people away from supermarket and internet shopping. Many high street names are reporting their busiest ever post-Christmas sales.
A man who survived the German concentration camps to make his home in Leeds has been bestowed an international honour. Arek Hirsch has had part of the world's biggest Holocaust memorial centre named after him. Sean Stoll has this.
Arek Hirsch recounting his story to one of the many groups of teenagers who've travelled from across the north of England with Arek back to Auschwitz. He survived to tell the story by slipping from the queue to the gas chamber to the queue to slave labour.
When I got to that gate, I looked back from all the children walking there to their death, and they took us to a chair.
Thousands of people across the world have now heard Arek's story, one couched in a message of tolerance and anti-racism. It's in recognition of this work that a new reading room at the Yad Vashem Centre in Jerusalem has been named after him. It's home to the world's largest repository of information on the Holocaust, including thousands of documents from the Nazi regime.
To go there and to be honoured with this study room where I'll be able to teach young people, I'll be going over and teach young people. I mean, to me, that was the greatest honour.
Music at Yad Vashem in honour of Arek triggers childhood memories of family and relatives murdered in the camps. It's this grief and anger which fire Arek's energy to deliver his message of anti-racism worldwide.
Arek Hirsch. Now, sport and in rugby union. Guinness Premiership, the result was, it's a bad result, I have to say, for Leeds. They lost to Newcastle, who are also struggling at the foot of the Premiership by 13 points to 10. Right, we know what Lisa got for her Christmas presents because she's wearing them all.
As you would expect, yes. Well, the snow has been on and off across the region throughout the day, and we are going to see it continuing tonight, but there's going to be widespread ice tonight as the temperature drops below freezing. So those sleet and snow showers will continue. I think by the end of the night we'll see it confined just to the coast, where there could be up to 4 inches of snow over the higher ground of the North York Moors. And if you are travelling tonight, driving conditions will be treacherous, widespread ice and temperatures down as low as -4 degrees. So a cold, frosty starts tomorrow with further sleet and snow showers on and off throughout the day. But as we go through the afternoon, we'll tend to find those showers again becoming increasingly confined to eastern parts of the region. And it is going to feel bitterly cold tomorrow, top temperatures only around 3 degrees. Now into Thursday, that should be a dry day with lots of sunshine, but once again feeling cold. And then on Friday, there's going to be some more significant snow for all of us before things start to turn a lot milder in time for New Year's Eve. On Saturday, it is going to be milder.
Lisa, thank you very much indeed. You won't want to miss the late news this evening. It's on at 5 to 11. I can't wait. From all of us, enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
Well, the snow might be fun for the kids. It's not so much fun if you've got to do some travelling through this evening, and actually it might be well worth putting things off till tomorrow. if you can. The worst could be the next few hours across the Midlands and eastern England. Certainly more snow to come, and then widespread ice overnight as temperatures drop well below freezing. This is where we expect the worst of the snow to be, though, over the next couple of hours. So moving now down towards the London area, pulling down across East Anglia, into the Midlands, Lincolnshire, Yorkshire. All these areas, I think, getting some heavy snowfall for a time, and increasingly across the eastern side of the Pennines as well. Still just about of rain across most parts of eastern Scotland, but here too, things will turn rather more wintry, particularly inland and across higher ground through the latter part of this evening and overnight. And keep your eye on that area of snow that pushes down across the Midlands. It will make further inroads, I think, down towards, say, Wiltshire, the West Country, but then fading away through the rest of the night, and we're just left with a few snow flurries then across those easternmost counties. Most of us ending up with a dry and a clear night, but a pretty cold one, a widespread frost and quite a hard frost because of that continuing north to northeasterly breeze. Into tomorrow, yeah, there will be some snow around, again for those easternmost counties where we'll get snow showers tending to come and go throughout the day, but for most it will be a dry and a pretty bright day. Good spells of sunshine right the way through. Still pretty cold, but if you can get out and about, the wind will be lighter, so in those sunnier spots it shouldn't feel too bad at all. Top temperatures typically between 2 and 4 degrees. Signs of a change later in the week. We'll see rain beginning to push in across Northern Ireland, preceded by a spell of snow. Some heavy snow further east, though, for Friday.